baby, you're a firework. Come on, show them what you're worth. Make them go, oh, 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 as you shoot across the sky. Now, class, why did you just hear me sing Katy Perry's song Firework? The reason why is because today we're going to learn about two literary devices. Those two literary devices being similes and metaphors. Now, does anybody know what a simile and a metaphor are? No? Okay. So a simile and a metaphor are words that you use to compare words within a sentence or song lyrics. Now, a simile can be found if you see the words like or as. A metaphor can be found if you see the words is, are, or was. An example of a simile would be in the Adele song that says, "You look like a movie, you sound like a song." A metaphor would be found if you see the words in Michael Bublé's song that says, "You're a falling star, you're the getaway car." Now, does anybody have any questions on how to find a simile or a metaphor? No? Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the lyrics of the song that I sang before, and we're going to go line by line to identify whether or not there are similes and metaphors within the song. So let's look at the first line. Do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind, wanting to start again? So right off the bat, we can see that she does use a simile because she's using like. So she's using the word like to compare a person feeling like a plastic bag. Now let's move on. It says, do you ever feel already buried deep, 6 feet under screams, but no one seems to hear a thing? Now let's look at this sentence. Do we see the words like, as, is, are, or was within that line? No. So within that line, she's not using similes or metaphors. Now let's look at the next part. Do you know that there's still a chance for you? Because there's a spark in you. Now let's look at this really carefully. So, do you know that there's is short for there is. Now, let's look at our chart and see. Is in fact a word that we use to find a metaphor. So we can see that there is a metaphor within that part of the song, right? It says, there is still a chance for you. Now it says, because there is a spark in you. There is another metaphor. You just gotta ignite the light and let it shine. Let's look at that. There is no is, are, like, was, or as. So now let's move on to the next part. It says, just own the night like the 4th of July. Is there a simile or a metaphor there? Who can tell me? Yes, there's a simile. Why? Because she's using the word like. So she is comparing the night to the 4th of July. Now let's move on to the chorus. It says, because baby, you're a firework. Is she using a simile or a metaphor within that sentence? She's using a metaphor, right? Because you can see that the word your is short for you are. Now are is to find a metaphor. Now let's move on. Come on, show them what you're worth. You are. So we have another metaphor there. And then it says, as you shoot across the sky, and the song continues. So now that we've found the similes and metaphors within this part of Katy Perry's song, we're going to go ahead and move on to using sentences that we use in our everyday life. Now we're going to take this down. Now let's look at two examples of our everyday life using similes and metaphors. Now for a simile, I could be really hungry and say, I'm as hungry as a cow, right? Okay, so let's write it down and find the simile within the sentence. I'm as hungry as a cow. Okay, now where is the simile in that? Now we find two, because here I'm using as, and here we have another as, right? And to find a simile, you use like or as. Now for a metaphor, let's see. I could say, this assignment was a breeze. Now, where is the metaphor within the sentence? We can see that the metaphor is right here because I'm using was. Now, let's review. So to find a simile, we use words such as like or as. To find a metaphor, we use is, are, or was. Now remember that similes and metaphors are both used to compare things within works of writing. So now that we've learned what similes and metaphors, I hope that you will take this knowledge and find it within your music that you listen to every day. Now your assignment is to go find a song and bring it back to class and have identified whether that song uses similes or metaphors. Now you'll highlight or circle those words.